Let's start at the very end, shall we? With that final frantic shriek from a man whose mind has been utterly, completely shattered. That one line? That's our destination. And it sits at the end of one of the most terrifying journeys in all of fiction. A journey that starts with stone and wood, but ends somewhere deep in the pitch-black darkness of a man's own soul.
Today, we are going deep into H.P. Lovecraft's 1924 masterpiece, The Rats in the Walls. And you need to know, right from the jump, this is not your average haunted house story. Oh no, this is about something way, way creepier, a haunted bloodline. It's about a horror that's buried in your very DNA, a genetic time bomb just waiting for the right moment to go off.
So, picture this. It's 1923. We meet our narrator, a guy named Delapour. He's a rich, kind of boring, middle-aged American, a stolid Yankee as he calls himself. And he's just poured his entire fortune into fixing up his family's ancient home back in England, a ruin called Exham Priory. He thinks he's doing this noble thing, reclaiming his family name. A great idea, if only he had any clue what that name really meant.
And what's so wild here is how little he actually knows. He knows the basics, sure, that his ancestor fled England after being accused of murdering his entire family. But Delapour just sees that as, a dark chapter to move past. He has no idea that this hideous tragedy wasn't some random act of violence. It was a desperate, last-ditch attempt to stop something much, much worse.
See, Delapour thinks he's just restoring an old Gothic building, but the evil in this place is ancient. It's layered, like rock strata, going back thousands of years. Before his family even showed up, this spot was a druid temple. Then it was a temple for the cult of Cybele, the Great Mother, a goddess whose followers were into some truly disturbing, frenzied rituals. After that, a feared Saxon monastery. His family didn't bring the evil here. They found it, they inherited it, and boy did they make it their own.
The local villagers, they know something's wrong. They have these legends, right? They talk about the Delapours like they were a family of demons. They whisper about a secret cult run by the head of the house, about neighbors who would just disappear. And the most vivid story of all? The one about the rats. A giant, starving army of rats that poured out of the castle right after that so-called family tragedy. And Delapour? He hears all this and just dismisses it, calls it superstition. He's about to get a very rude awakening.
The first sign that things are about to go very, very wrong doesn't come from some ghost in chains. It's way more subtle than that, more unnerving. It actually starts with his 9 cats. Because animals, they're always the first to sense when something is just not right.
His favorite cat, an old black cat, whose name, Niggerman, is a pretty jarring reminder of the time it was written, he becomes the canary in the coal mine. The cat is totally agitated, constantly pacing, sniffing, and scratching at the brand-new paneling covering those ancient stone walls. Delapour, ever the rational guy, just thinks, must be a weird smell from the old stone that only a cat can pick up. And then he hears it. For the first time, he's all alone in his room, and he hears this faint sound from behind a tapestry. It's unmistakable, but it's impossible. This place has been sealed up for 300 years. It's the sound of rats.
The very next night, it's back. But this time, it's not faint. Oh no, it's a terrifying chorus. It's a verminous slithering that seems to come from every single direction at once. The sound is so intense it feels like the walls themselves are moving. It's like his home is infested with something horrible and unseen. Then it hits this absolute fever pitch. The sound becomes a stampede, a riot of tiny claws. And this is where he notices the truly horrifying part, the direction. He realizes these rats are migrating in unbelievable numbers, from the very top of the priory, down, down, down into some impossible depth way below the foundations. But here's the part that would drive you insane. He calls his servants, and they rush in, and they've heard nothing. The only ones freaking out are the cats. The second other people are there, poof, the sound is gone. Is he losing his mind? Is this some shared delusion between him and his pets? That doubt, that fear that your own sanity is slipping, that's almost worse than the noise itself.
Okay, so he has to know what's going on. He's desperate for an answer. So he and his friend, Captain Norris, they decide to investigate the one spot the cats are completely obsessed with, the subcellar. It's a vault built by the Romans, the deepest, oldest part of the priory that anyone knows about.
And down there in that crypt, oh man, they find some unsettling proof of the site's dark past. There are Roman pillars, inscriptions to Attis and the Magna Mater, the Great Mother, a goddess tied to some truly gruesome sacrificial rites. They even find altars that are older than the Romans. And on the main altar, in the center of the room, these dark brown stains. This wasn't just a cellar, it was a pagan slaughterhouse.
So they're keeping watch down there, and they hear the rats again, scurrying away even deeper, somewhere below this Roman floor. And then a lantern flame flickers. It's a draft, a tiny puff of air coming from a crack under that huge central altar. The rats weren't just in the walls, they were going somewhere, a place that wasn't supposed to exist.
So Delapore gets a team together, archaeologists, scientists, men of reason, to deal with this madness. They go back down to the cellar, and after a lot of work, they make a shocking discovery. That altar, it isn't a solid block of stone, it's a cleverly hidden, counterweighted gate, and as they heave it open, the stench from the pits of hell washes over them, and they stare down into an impossible darkness.
What they find, it's just beyond anything they could have imagined. It's not a vault, it's not a tomb. It is a vast underground world, dimly lit by cracks in the cliff face they can't even see. It's a huge cavern filled with the ruins of buildings from all through history, a secret world hidden right under his home.
The floor of this place is literally a sea of gnawed-on human bones. They find skeletons of creatures that were barely human, locked in poses of cannibalistic rage. And then, they find the worst thing of all, stone pens. This wasn't just a place for sacrifice. It was a farm. It was a place where the Delapore family raised herds of devolved, four-legged humans as cattle.
And you might think, okay, well that was some awful ancient cult. But no, the horror becomes sickeningly modern. His friend Norris goes into one of the buildings down there, and he stumbles out, his face white as a sheet. It was a butcher shop and a kitchen, filled with familiar English tools, and it had graffiti on the walls, dated as recently as 1610. This wasn't some long-dead pagan thing. His direct ancestors, the English barons, they kept this tradition going.
And here it is. The moment the horror becomes completely, inescapably personal. Inside an old Saxon cell, on the finger of a skeleton, Delapore finds a ring, a seal ring, with his family's crest on it. The proof is right there in his hand. This is his heritage. This is the blood that is flowing through his own veins. This is what he is.
As the other explorers are just standing there, completely stunned, Delapore hears it again, that damned scurrying, coming from the absolute blackness beyond the lit part of the grotto. The rats are leading him on, deeper into the earth, deeper into his family's sick legacy. He drops his torch and just runs blindly after the sound.
And in that total darkness, his sanity just shatters. He has this recurring nightmare about a swineherd and his grotesque beasts, and in that moment, the nightmare and reality just merge into one. He bumps into his chubby friend, Captain Norris, and his broken mind twists his friend's face into one of the flabby, monstrous things his ancestors used to eat.
And with that one chilling question, he just stops fighting it. He embraces it. The logic is completely insane, but to him, it makes perfect sense. The eaten becomes the eater. He's not Delapore, the restorer, anymore. He is Delaportiere, the consumer of forbidden things.
This is the final stage. The de-evolution is complete. Language itself just fails him. The rational American is gone, and all that's left is this primal beast. He starts babbling ancient curses, chanting the name of that dark goddess, Magna Mater, and then he just dissolves into these guttural, inhuman noises. His own heredity has swallowed him whole.
They find him there, crouched over the body of his friend, his own cat clawing at his throat. They destroy Exham Priory, and they lock him away. And we're left with this ultimate, terrifying question. Were the rats a real supernatural force guiding him to this awful destiny? Or were they never even there at all? Just the frantic, maddening sound of his own cursed bloodline, echoing through the empty halls of his mind, a bomb that had been waiting centuries to finally detonate.